Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Scagz and yours truly, the Captain, and we got another live kick show for you tonight. Scagz, tell them what we're talking about today. What's up, pal?
Not much, buddy. Here we are, back on Kick. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Pope Zelenskyy. He made a couple interesting comments. I'm talking about Volodymyr Zelenskyy, of course, regarding his country and their election, or not election. Voldemort Zelenskyy. Yeah, so we're going to talk about some interesting comments he made there regarding Ukraine's future, or lack thereof, election. We got different democracy. Don't forget, right? Mm-hmm. Democracy is paramount in the world nowadays.
Number one. Yep.
I don't think we can go this episode without commenting on Trump's mugshot, of course. That happened to come out like right as soon as we finished recording last week. Yeah.
We actually thought the mugshot that came out was fake.
No, the first one was. The very first one that we saw on Truth Social was fake. Remember, it got deleted? You even said, oh, look, it got deleted.
Yeah. Okay, yep, you're right.
Yeah, so that'll be our second topic. And then third, I think we'll talk about the Gadsden Flag. There was
a little viral video today.
Viral video. We'll get into the culture war. I happen to have a place in my heart, special place in my heart for the Gadsden Flag. A student out in Colorado Springs got in trouble for having the Gadsden Flag. So that'll be our final topic. And we'll do tweets of the week at the end to wrap it up.
Sir.
So, man. Sir. Zelenskyy was interviewed the other day about future elections in Ukraine. Now, this is interesting, Cap. Me and you went back and forth about this a little bit. But I thought it was interesting because he was like a month ago, maybe in June, they asked him about elections again. And he was basically like, yeah, there's not going to be any elections. We're at war. Suspending elections. We're at war. Sorry.
And this is a battle for democracy, so we're going to get rid of democracy until this war has been won.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what he said. Yeah.
This is a lot like, after the 2020 election when they were still counting the votes. And I was like, all they're doing is just waiting until Joe Biden has a lead to give Biden the state. And this is what Zelensky's doing. There shall be no elections until we win the war. He's going to hold up something else until it perfectly falls into place for what he wants.
And, the war in Ukraine is almost, at least in my opinion, by design, like another endless war, a quagmire. It could be.
That's in your opinion. I think that's a stone cold fact.
We're trying to, the Pentagon, the Empire, the U.S. federal government, they're trying to give Russia their own version of Afghanistan's 20-year war. Right, it's a great way to launder a shit ton of money to the military-industrial complex. And at the same time, not having to use any American soldiers for now. You could just send Ukrainians into the meat grinder. The war could theoretically be endless. So that was Zelensky's opinion before. But now he, interestingly enough, is entertaining elections again. But they are coming, surprise. They're coming with a price tag. And who's going to pay that price tag, or who's he insinuating is going to pay that price tag? These two assholes right here. 1, 2. And the other 350 plus million assholes in this country called the United States of America. So I won't get into the video itself because he's speaking in Ukrainian and it's hard to translate for audio purposes, right? So I have an article I'll share and we can get into it, Cap. It is on Newsweek, and I found this one interesting because Newsweek it's a pretty good article. They try to stay down the line, but they're trying to fact check, of course, like the claim that he wants us to pay for the election. But I actually thought they did a pretty good job at explaining this. So we'll go over to that. Again, bear with me if there's any technical difficulties here, folks. It's always an adventure with technology. So I got this from Fact Check. From Newsweek from Fact Check. But basically, that's essentially what it is. It's not that long, so again, bear with us here. So if Fact Check, is Zelenskyy refusing to hold Ukraine election unless U.S. pays? The war in Ukraine has disrupted the country's flow of government. No more noticeable than the question of elections recently highlighted during a television interview with the Ukrainian president. During the interview, Zelenskyy, who was elected in 2019, said he told U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham that an election would cost about $135 million. Stop.
Chump change.
Yeah, right.
Chump change
Compared to
what they've been getting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, you took the words right out of my mouth.
One thing though, like the war in Ukraine has disrupted the country's flow of government. Didn't we send them money to pay for like
keep the government
all
working?
Yeah,
We did.
Yeah, so we paid all their government officials' salaries for X years or days or months, whatever the hell it is. But somehow the flow of government has been disrupted. What?
Well, yeah,
we paid to keep government and democracy alive, have we not?
Perhaps our money isn't going where we thought it was all along. Right. I mean, perhaps those two men were correct this entire time, right? Yeah. All right. We'll stop being tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, of course, Ukraine's the most corrupt country in the world before this. And now we expected what? All of the money that they sent to keep the government running actually went to that? No. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, $135 million is really nothing compared to what we've given them over $100 billion.
If we only gave them 135 million, this wouldn't even be a topic of discussion.
Right. Yeah, we wouldn't even give a shit. It'd be one of like the footnotes on how insane. That's a good point, dude. That's how big the United States government is. That if they gave someone $135 million, we wouldn't even notice it. Like because there's so much money flying out of this thing at every turn.
And just your house burned down in Hawaii. Here's $700, champ.
Yeah. Right. That's it. Get fucked.
Yep.
Real quick, interesting point. He was elected in 2019. You know, he did run on the peace platform that I want to make peace with Russia. You know, and he's the complete opposite. So I want to just.
He's a real politician.
Second interesting note. He's talking about Lindsey Graham. I guess that's when Lindsey Graham went to go visit him. Perhaps he's talking about this. Now this is kind of coming out because of this interview that he did with television. I haven't seen it lately, man, but I really like if there's one thing about Trump I'm not trusting right now, it's like, why is he palling around with Lindsey Graham? You can't end the war in Ukraine and then be working with Lindsey Graham, who's like the most pro-support the war till no end guy.
Lindsey Graham's always been a thorn in that guy's side.
Yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on, definitely. I'm going to keep up with the article here. However, the details of the conversation were criticized by some who suggested the comments were indicative of election interference and a demand that would hit the pockets of U.S. taxpayers. A post on X by Trending Politics Colin Rugg sent yesterday, what's today? Yeah, sent yesterday, which has been viewed 3.3 million times, states President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says he'll only be holding an election next year if the United States taxpayers keep sending them money. Zelenskyy and Biden masters of election interference. Zelenskyy says he personally made the demand to none other than Lindsey Graham. I told Graham, if the United States and Europe give us financial support, I'm sorry, I will not hold elections on credit. I will not take money from weapons and give it to elections either. But if you give me this financial support, then let's quickly change the legislation, and most importantly, let's take risks together. Boy, I mean, what is that gobbledygook political speak?
How are we taking risks together? You're getting a fucking blank check to do whatever you want to quote unquote run elections. We're the only ones taking a risk here.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really. I guess his soldiers are at the end of the day that they're sending into meat grinder. But he's living large.
Yeah, the chopped meat is taking the risk, but at the end of the day, how much more is this? I don't want to start.
A little bit more. Yeah, let's keep going. And then we'll give our take. So observers should be in the trenches, I told him. Observers should be sent to the front line so that the elections are legitimate for us and for the whole world. And this is absolutely fair. So I guess what he's saying is that observers, like people who would participate in the election, like they should actually be fighting in the war right now. So he's trying to make that point.
I think he's saying people like us observing this and commenting on it should be observing from the trenches to change our perspective and say it's only fair that we give him more money for an election because they really need this election.
That could be it too. I will say that it's hard to like translate perfectly like Ukrainian and Russian to English. Like the two languages don't necessarily work the same way as English does. So there could be some, like it could not just sound right the way it's translated in
Mm-hmm.
English. So Newsweek, then, they try to fact check this. They said the tweet by Rugg leaves out some important pieces of information. The quote that Rugg referred to was from a television interview with the Ukrainian broadcaster 1+1, excerpts of which were republished by the president of Ukraine's official website on Sunday. During the interview, Zelenskyy said he told Graham that $135 million was needed to carry out the election during wartime. As Rugg mentions, the operation would require election observers to be sent to the front line to ensure voting was fair. So they do clarify there. That's what I said.
There we
right?
go.
Like
Okay,
people
very
who have
good.
to observe have to be sent to the front line to actually fight. Newsweek's reached out to the representative for Graham via email for comment. Zelenskyy said the move would also require the electoral code to be changed for the contest to go ahead as fighting continues, adding that money could not be taken from the military budget stipulated by law. Contributions from the U.S. supporting Ukraine in its conflict with Russia are strictly itemized and audited. Yeah, okay.
That's a load of shit.
Yeah, there's no auditing. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about there. It's obviously just fucking more gobbledygook, political speech, propaganda. The Ukrainian president added that his government would need to open up appropriate opportunities so that the refugees who had fled the country could also take part. We need every vote. We won't be able to say for ourselves that this was a very democratic election, Zelenskyy said during the interview. We need a legitimate choice. We need this choice to be made by society. So that does not divide our people. We need the military to be able to vote. They are defending this democracy today, and not giving them this opportunity because of the war is unfair. I was against the elections only because of this issue. The plea was made to the U.S. and European Union, so it's not a direct appeal to the U.S. government alone. While Rugg's summary of Zelenskyy's comment does have truth to it, taken from the Ukrainian president's own comments, it does not detail much of the task required to undertake such an election, such as the need to contact the millions of Ukrainians who are now elsewhere. The United States has not said whether it would support the election in any case. So the fact check, after all of that, right? That's what's funny. Just like the framing, the premise of this is that, well, yeah, I mean, his tweet was really true. It's just that he also wanted the European Union to kick in some money towards the election as well. And that's, but isn't it just interesting how, Michael Malice says this all the time, like the corporate press is, he says that they're honest, but they're truthful, but not honest, or something like that. Sorry if I'm butchering.
They'll always tell you the truth, but it'll just be at a time where you don't see it coming.
Or like just a half truth. So Colin Rugg, his tweet was a lie, right? But it's not that it was wrong. It's just it's not that it was a lie. It's just that it wasn't fully correct. And they're saying it needs to be fact checked. And like fact checking something at the bare minimum makes everybody think, oh, well, that thing is completely
that must
wrong.
be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how this shit
Because now,
works.
now we're taking it a step further. People only used to read headlines, and now people are actually maybe people are doing their own research. So now when they see a fact check, they just disregard it. They don't read the fact check, and they just disregard because this must be wrong. I
it's
can move
like
on and do my own research.
And people already people already just read the title only, and then they just form their opinion right off of that. And most of the time in these corporate press news articles, they'll bury the lead like on the last page of 20 pages that has like the actual pertinent information. So you read like 19 pages of complete horseshit and like agenda narrative spinning. And then at the end, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, like everything we just said here is completely speculation. This is what actually happened on page 20 out of 20. That's essentially what this is here. Literally the last page, the last fucking page of the article. So man, me and you talked about this, man. I just found this interesting because like, what is Zelenskyy's goal here? What's he doing? What's he thinking? What do you think?
Now that I didn't see this article before we went live today, but now that I hear that, and he's talking about how the soldiers need to vote and all the refugees who fled Ukraine should be able to vote from wherever they are. And the only way this is going to work is if they change protocol and election codes, and America and the EU pays for this. Honestly, just suspend the election, suspend democracy. I think that is that's the less corrupt road than this actual election. Okay. This just smells ripe of corruption, of foul play. I don't trust Zelenskyy. I don't trust what goes on in Ukraine. I'm not giving anybody the benefit of the doubt anymore. And like I had said to you earlier, I said, it's a bold move to make this demand, but who's going to run against him? Is this really going to be a fair election? What happens? Do you really see Zelenskyy magically losing this election? What I see is Zelenskyy somehow winning in a landslide, and then all of Ukraine rioting in the streets because they know that's not who they voted for. I guarantee you, whoever runs against him has like 90% of the polls, and all of a sudden Zelenskyy wins.
Sure. To be honest, my best, now again, me and you are not Ukrainians. We're not over there. I don't know how we'd feel if we were born there and not here, right? And this whole situation's going on. My guess is that most people probably would vote for him, right? Because, like, again, I don't know, if some other country invaded our land, we'd probably be pissed off. And we'd want to, like, do everything we possibly can to get back at them and stop them, right? But that didn't happen to us. So our position here in America should be, we shouldn't be making these things worse. We should have like a nuanced take on this. I don't necessarily like expect a random Ukrainian person in the Donbass to have like the most perfectly nuanced take on what like the geopolitical strategy should be in this scenario, because they're getting blown the fuck up every day, right? So like we're outside of that. We can comment on this with nuance and like comfortably from the seats in our home here in the studio. So my guess would be that probably, even I agree, there's going to be fuckery, right? And that is funny. Like, do we want to start letting Zelenskyy tinker with like election code and things like that? Yeah. It's already corrupt there as is, and now we want to.
How long before he becomes King Zelenskyy?
President for life or something like that.
Yeah.
But my guess would be if you just did leave it to an honest vote, he probably would win, just because he's gotten so much money from us. He's done a great job of extracting money from the West to fund this thing, and people there probably don't like the Russians right now, as me and you have looked into, right? Like, they really hate each other over there. Like, this goes back to the Soviet days, the way the Russians treated them, starved them, doing the Holodomor and all that stuff. So there's like a deep-rooted hatred there amongst Ukrainians and Russians. So my guess is he'd probably win. I thought it was interesting because, like, why is he even entertaining this? He already said that there'd be no elections, and everybody was like, okay, fine. Everybody basically supported it. So my question to you the other day when we were texting is like, does he maybe just want out of this thing? Like, is he like, I've done it enough, and I want to take my billions I laundered and go retire on in Venice or some shit like that, Venice Beach. Who knows?
Whatever island Epstein is retiring on. Yeah. Potentially, if you put it that way, if he is embezzling billions and laundering billions from America, and he is in, cahoots with the Bidens or the administration or the military industrial whatever, whoever you want to name, who he's in bed with here, laundering this money. You're right. He might see the writing on the wall. You know what I mean? He might know. I would assume he's privy to information that me and you can't even imagine. He might be privy to Donald Trump's going to destroy everything when he gets reelected. They know these cases, quote unquote, hold no water. They know that they can't rig the next election, or there's something coming, the Q quote, a storm is coming, whatever. Maybe he does want to pack up and run, and that's something to think about. That's actually a pretty good way to think about it. Like, he'd see the writing on the wall. I'm just giving an example of what could be coming.
Spitballing.
I know I'm talking conspiracies here, but yeah, if he sees the writing on the wall, he might want to be getting out.
Yeah, and I would think
it can't be a comfortable position he's in.
No,
you got to think if this all blows up. If this all blows up, he's going to be a treasonous war criminal that is certainly going to be hung.
Yeah, right. Like, he's either going to be the hero of Ukraine of all time, or a villain possibly, or like the guy who lost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe there's something. Maybe again, I would agree. He definitely is privy to like at least battle, information that we don't have. Maybe he does see the writing on the wall, perhaps that they can't win, right? And he doesn't want to go down as the president who couldn't win. So this could be him introducing the idea of giving him an off ramp, right? Like, he well, we believe in democracy here, right? At the end of the day, don't forget, that's what we're fighting to defend here is democracy. So we're going to leave it up to a vote. Who do the people
Democracy
want?
wins, and he's gone.
I'm just saying, like, who do the people want to lead us in,
Yeah.
this war, like, that we're going through now? And perhaps, the people choose the other candidate and he Zelensky loses and he, goes to retire on his island. And then, in, the next year, Ukraine loses the war. They lose all the territory. And that guy essentially takes the fall for the whole thing. And Zelensky, he's living large. You should have listened to me the whole time. Something like that. Maybe. I don't know. It's just suspicious to me because he's willing, obviously, to keep this fucking charade going at this moment in time. And the West obviously has been willing to use him as a puppet. He's like perfect for like money laundering, obviously. So it was just odd to me in general. Like I did not expect this at all.
Yeah. There's, I mean, all of our radars are going off here.
Yeah.
With something fishy. We just can't put our
finger on
exactly what it is,
Yeah, and
like
I
said, bold move. It was coming out and saying that you want America to pay for your election. Wildly bold move. But,
just the fact that you're entertaining having an election is interesting again after you didn't. What was I going to say? That I did make the point before when he canceled the election. Well, if you are defending democracy and these people, they fucking love democracy, they believe in it so much, well, don't you think that we should have some democracy right now in Ukraine? And like, hey, perhaps if the people of Ukraine, like we were saying before, don't like the way that this thing is going, they could choose someone else to lead them, right? So, yeah, that was my point before. I just don't know, man. It's just so weird.
Maybe whoever runs against him is an even bigger CIA
or the person could
Hunter Biden runs.
Imagine that, right? That would be funny. Yeah. That this would give the people of Ukraine a choice to vote for an actual peace candidate. Or I remember I said before, Zelensky ran on the peace platform, and he's done basically the complete opposite. Well, now that would be an interesting litmus test if you could believe the results of that election over there. If someone ran against him, it's like, I'm going to make peace with Putin and end the war and whatever, and then people actually vote for him and he wins. Yeah, that would be interesting, right? That's like
but
that'd
the
go.
West ain't gonna let that happen.
That's what I'm saying, right? That's again. There's so many moving parts here. It's so interesting. It's so out of left field. I felt like we had to talk about it. Pope Zelensky here.
I mean, and we'll talk about like the Trump mugshot next and just indictments and stuff. I think so much is getting so complicated, and we've been at this for so long now that like we could see things playing out 100 different ways. There's really no telling how this movie is going to end.
I don't know if this factors in at all, but I know Tucker Carlson is in rumors of back channel talking to Putin for a possible interview in the next, hope. I don't know. Maybe that'll pop up in the next couple of weeks. Perhaps we'll hear from Vladimir Putin directly, right, during this whole thing.
That might get 500 million views.
Yeah, Tucker just put out a video with Viktor Orban, who is.
Is that what I sent you and Garrett?
That was from Hungary, but Tucker's over there doing things like interviewing world leaders in Eastern Europe who are not necessarily happy about the war in Ukraine and how it's playing out. So yeah, that would be interesting if he interviews Putin, and I'd like to see that. I really would. I'd like to see what Putin. He's going to know he's like addressing us, like the American people, directly through an American. I'd like to hear what he has to say. And again, I felt Tucker kind of didn't do a great job with the Trump interview, but I really feel like that's more of his wheelhouse. Sitting across from Putin and asking him perhaps some tough questions, or just goddamn it, like hearing what he has to say about the whole thing.
I think just the fact if you give Putin a chance to speak, and no, we're not this pro-Russia show either, but obviously we talk about propaganda. If you're a fan of the show, you're educated in this stuff. The last person that the American corporate press wants you to hear speak any form of truth would be Putin. And I said it last week, that interview with Trump and Tucker was the signifying the death of the corporate media. There's no more news anymore, because if you sit there and you say this, that, and the next about Tucker and Trump, this and that, but you believe everything on MSNBC, you're using all these letters. You're an NPC. You know what I mean? You're the bottom of the barrel. There's no room for you at the table anymore if MSNBC is where you're getting your information from.
Yeah,
I mean we're
agreed.
very far past that now.
Yeah, remember what did Vivek say on the last episode or the debate? He was like, "I'm not running for the president of MSNBC or trying to appeal to them the way you are." I think he said at Fox News, which was a pretty good sting. One last point I'll make about Tucker and Putin. Man, would that just be so interesting because you're not going to get the interview through the corporate press propaganda lens, but then you're also not going to get the Putin's words and Putin through the Russian propaganda lens, right? Or like through Russia Today or whatever, like through their own state-approved media, carefully curated thing. It's like an American who me and you trust to some extent, Tucker, bringing Putin into his world and then asking questions like totally detached from both sides propaganda machine. Yeah. It's a lot of pressure on Tucker, I have to say.
Could Tucker be the key to ending propaganda?
I mean,
worldwide?
Not him specifically, but like independent media and what he's doing. Yes, that shit don't work anymore and it's fucking way more popular. Like we saw that the Trump interview was over 250 million views. And, on our last episode, I think I estimated that the GOP debate was at like 40 million. Like it was generous. Dude, it's like way lower than that. I think it was like 19 million or something, like for real. So, like that, the corporate press, they're fucked. They're in big trouble. And, it also is like a person can literally change the course of history now. Like one person. Like Tucker, if he is able to have a good interview with Putin, maybe that helps lead to like a peace deal in the future because it like gets more Americans on the side of, hey, we want peace in this thing. We don't want a war that could end in nuclear war, World War III. So I don't know. I'm being white pilled, but it's a possibility.
Just to throw a little black pill in there though, we still, even though Tucker is conducting the interview and putting it out there, we still have to trust, the KGB murderer that Putin is in what he's saying.
Yeah. Right. I never said we should trust him. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to hear from him.
So he might still be putting out his own propaganda.
Sure. Right. But again, he'll be sitting across from Tucker, who Tucker could disappoint everybody, but if that does happen, I hope Tucker is not just launching softballs at him. I hope he's going to be like, well, that doesn't make much sense. What do you have to say to the people who are like countering whatever it is you're saying now? Like that's what the common conversation I want to have. Like, of course Putin's going to say things that benefit him. Yeah, of course. But I'd like to hear him ask difficult questions and see what his responses are to them and see if they make any sense or not. So I think everyone could benefit from that.
I hope Tucker wears his brown pants because
his shitting pants.
If Putin walked in this room right now, there'd be a poopy pants moment.
His shitting pants. All right.
And so, as you said, if somebody can change the world, well, folks, the world was changed last week.
Yeah. You want to get into the mugshot?
Yeah, I
don't know how much substance we could get out of this.
I have some stuff that I want to talk about. It's not really just the mugshot. It's the merch. It's what's gone on with it all. It's not shared. It fucked you over.
No,
it's half the screen.
Is it for you?
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
I could see it, but it's small. Well, anyway, last Thursday, while we were conducting our first live kick, the Trump mugshot was released, and boy, is this is the most famous, iconic mugshot in the history of the world. It really is. This is a turning point in American politics. They are so scared of this man. They are fully prepared to interfere in the election any way they can, to prevent this man from running any way they can. This was, I would say, a historic moment.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we're gonna make plenty of jokes about it. We're gonna talk about the memes, and it's gonna be funny. But this was a historic moment last week.
A couple things I want to pair with that is that he tweeted for the first time since I think January 8th of 2021 like right after, basically since he got banned because of
Yep.
January 6th. This tweet, look at this from Fright to Bear memes. Wake up, babe. New Trump tweet. Guys waking up his wife. So this tweet got 254 million views. Again, similar to his interview with Tucker. That should tell you something, Ben. That's almost like, again, like I said, the adult population of the United States is around that number. That's almost everyone. Almost everyone fucking looked at this thing. You know, maybe not including international people or whatnot. But Trump also raised $7.5 million or so.
Last I heard from
more by
Tim
now.
Pool, it was $11 million. Yeah. And, you know, just a side note, with Trump returning to Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, that was definitely an oh shit moment for some of these shit libs.
Sure. He hasn't said anything else, though. That was it.
I think he's waiting. I think he's biding his time. I think he's planning accordingly. I think what this mugshot signifies is the entire time Trump's been taking all these arrows for us, we the people, he's been fighting with the gloves on and fighting defense. I think we're about to see the gloves come off. I think we're about to see a different fight, and I think there's going to be pain, a lot of pain coming.
Yeah,
I really do, especially with that tweet. That's what I got from it. Like, the gloves are coming off. He's on the one place everybody was scared to have him come back on, and at any moment he will crush your day.
I hope so. I hope he comes back with the vengeance. Vengeance 2024, right? That's what the anarchists should be voting for here, perhaps. I wonder, you know, like how much practice did he put into like taking the photo ahead of time? Like, you know, how many hours in front of the mirror?
Was he scowling in the mirror?
In the mirror for how many hours was that going on for? And like, how many people did he consult him? Like, well, how exactly? This had to have happened, dude. I'm sorry, but there definitely was meetings over
they
what
dress him in the morning.
Yeah, like what sort of face should I make exactly? I'd love to be a fly on the wall in one of those meetings. Like, that's the high level discussions that they're having. Like, what kind of face should I make in the photo that they're going to take of me?
I wish he smiled.
No, I think with the, you know, like the leering, you know, look he had, I do think they made the decision that like we have to convey, convey being angry here, because this is like crossing the line. I kind of like that Jenna Ellis laughed in hers because it's just, you know,
there was a New York Times article on all the other people who got mugshots about them smiling. Shocking. The liberal media is angry that, you know, these MAGA people are making a mockery of them.
Didn't matter what they did. It wouldn't have been good. But I do think Trump definitely was trying to convey some sort of anger, like some sort of like, this is serious.
This is game phase
at this point. And what does that mean? I don't know exactly. You know, I know you guys are all saying, you know, take the gloves off and things like that. Like, okay, you know, let's see what happens. I know we're gonna keep it to future episodes, but I have questions for people that we know. Let's just put it that way.
I'm excited to hear them, and I'm excited to see what they have to say. So little bait for future episodes to come. The next thing I want to bring up about this, though, is take out your politics here. Take out your politics, what you feel about Trump, what you think about his presidency, what you think about what's going on with him. He is the GOAT. He is the greatest of all time. We are going to walk down the streets, and you're going to see people like me and you in favor of Donald Trump wearing this mugshot on a shirt. And then we are going to run into people like, you know, a liberal cousin or the liberal Yahoo from down the street wearing this to mock Trump. He's the only guy that is hated. He's hated so widely that he's actually unifying us.
Unifying him in hatred of or you know, just
everybody is
polarization,
posting this mugshot and cheering it. It's hard to explain because I can't think of an example of whenever this is really
happened
please
before.
In the comments. If you know of something that has happened like this, please tell us. But when has anything like this ever happened before, where a man is hated and loved so much, everybody out on the street is repping his picture?
Yeah. We've said this now. This is probably going to be the third or fourth episode in a row. Capturing the zeitgeist. This, again, is another example of Trump being a master at capturing the zeitgeist. Like you're just saying, everyone's going to fucking wear this thing. Everyone's posting this thing. It's like a stroke of marketing genius.
Yeah.
Trump has taken them weaponizing the Department of Justice against him and trying to throw him in jail for 700 years and turned it into a marketing stroke of genius that has his face everywhere. Everywhere. You can't have, like, you almost can't not have seen the mugshot if you live in America, at least.
Yeah.
And now for months, people are going to be wearing it. People are going to print it on fucking coffee mugs, right? I'm going to frame it and put it in here just because it's funny as a joke when we have guests in here. It's going to be everywhere.
I'm getting the shirt.
They look again. It's another. You're getting a shirt. Good for you. Yeah, I want it too. But like I told everybody last week, I want the full shirt. I want no border. Yeah. I want the whole thing to be just Trump's big ass head and that little star like on my sleeve, perhaps, or something. Yeah. I just think that'd be way more funny. Yeah, it's look. In my opinion, it's another gigantic miscalculation by the establishment. And what I think they thought like this makes him look terrible, right? And now like this will win over more people. Like, look, I mean, the guys. I don't know. I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think it's working.
That now Trump is rising in the polls for the black community.
Yeah, I mean,
because of this.
Yeah, I think there's probably a little aspect of that. I think there's probably a little bit of embellishment there, perhaps by Trump people. I did see. I actually made a note. I did see that Lil Pump and Chief Keef have voiced their support for Trump now. So like rappers who, there could be something to that. Like people in like the rapper community, like the African American community, who feel like, especially in that courthouse, specifically in Fulton County, has not been fair. Historically to that community. I don't know. Like you just throw a guy, like you now are doing the same thing to Trump. You're going to win people to his side by like pushing too far. In an extent, there could be something to that, perhaps.
When I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but like, it's just like it's amazing to me that like we have to be watching a movie because at every single turn since 2015, they have underestimated this man and boosted this man's popularity better than he could do himself.
Yeah, that is true.
Like it's got to be fake. How can they be this bad at it?
Sure.
How can they not see this coming down the road and working in his favor? They're still out there talking. They tried calling him the MAGA King, and that blew up like wildfire. And then they run around with Dark Brandon and people. It doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. So just what you're saying is a good point. They have helped him to some extent. Just thinking back to 2016, where I was at. In 2016, as a Bernie guy and like watching the rigged primary against Bernie, a lot of Bernie people at the time, supporters, were saying like, "Oh, look, the corporate press has like given Trump a tremendous amount of free publicity, free coverage." Because like at every turn, they were responding to anything he said on Twitter, right? And at every turn, even during the Republican primary, as opposed to when Bernie was running against Hillary, it was a complete media blackout. Nothing Bernie had to say was like televised. Everything was about Trump and Hillary essentially, while the primaries are still going on. So there's something to that. Like they've backfired at every turn when they've tried to like push so hard to like convince people. Like they've gone over the top trying to convince people, and it has not helped them.
Yeah. And they're only pushing harder and harder as we get closer to the next election.
Yeah, and we'll see. The news. The news of the last 2 days is that is it the Jack Smith trial? Is it the Jack Smith trial? It's set to start the day before Super Tuesday. If you don't remember what Super Tuesday is, it's one of the days in the primary where a majority of the states vote for in their primary. Like I think it's like the first one where a huge amount of the states vote in the primary, and they're going to start Trump's trial the day before that.
It's not guaranteed though. That's what they're shooting for. So I was listening to an episode of Tim Pool, and he had on somebody who used to work for Homeland Security, and that's not the Fulton County courthouse, right? The one before.
I'm not sure. I'm getting them mixed up again. I'm sorry, folks, but I find this shit fucking boring at the end of the day. So I don't care about that much about the particulars.
So whichever one is supposed to be before Super Tuesday, the guy from Homeland, the retired agent or ex-agent from Homeland Security, was like, there's no way that they could get a court case pushed up that far in advance. They're way too backed up. And at the end of the day, Trump's lawyers are just going to delay. We need more time for discovery. And they have to give it to them. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try and pull something to say where, oh, well, you don't get discovery for this case or some bullshit.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't guarantee 100% yet that it's going to happen that day. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they pull something.
I understand the arguments a legal person would make. The problem is that too many of these legal people, these conservatives, still think that these people are playing by the rules. Right? Like, did you forget what are we even talking about? We're talking about the weaponization of the justice system against the former president. So, like, now all of a sudden they're going to start playing by the rules now? Once they file the indictment against him? Come on. We'll grow up.
Sure. Very, very valid point there as well.
All right. Let's move on to our last topic, and then we'll do tweets of the week after that. And our last topic is a bit of a goofy one. I'm not going to lie here to you folks.
A little triggering for old Scagz over here.
Yeah, I guess so. This happened today. From Connor Boyack, meet 12-year-old Jaden, who was kicked out of class yesterday in Colorado Springs for having a Gadsden Flag Patch. Which the school claims has origins with slavery. The school's director said via email that the patch was disruptive to the classroom environment. I think little Jaden here deserves all 3 minutes of this legendary God King based video that he is about to be in. So let's play it. You can actually hear it pretty well. It seems to me, just from this, it seems like mom,
hit her phone.
Yes, and he's like called in. This is the teacher here. He's called into the to the room meeting with his mom. Looks like this is probably his baby sibling, like a carriage. And mom hid the camera on the carriage to record the meeting because mom probably thought that this was ridiculous as well. And I would gather, mom
100% right.
Smelled something fucky was afoot, so she recorded this. So let's watch it.
She smelt the liberal.
Yeah, so let's watch it and let's see what happens.
Thank you. Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade. That is what was, that's the reasoning behind why we do not want this displayed.
The Gadsden flag?
The Don't Tread on Me.
Okay. Which is the Gadsden flag. Okay. So he
this kid's face.
What's going to happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, like, I was upset that he was missing so much school. I'm like, so I asked if can he just take his stuff out of his bag and go back to class. Like, I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got the patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids. So that's what I was trying to, and then he said you were close. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with slavery. That's like the Revolutionary War patch that was displayed when they were fighting the British. Like that's the revolution. Maybe you're thinking of like the Confederate flag.
Okay, I am
Is there
just
history
here
to
to
it?
enforce. No, I am here to enforce the policy that was provided by the district.
Okay.
And definitely, you have every right to not agree with it. I mean,
because the ACLU says that he's allowed to wear that. If you go on their website, it's says in big letters.
All I'm saying is that
unless there's a ban on patches, period. Like if you said there's no patches allowed at the school, you cannot display what you think or anything like that, or what cheer or anything like that. I think it's one-sided, because you allow some patches, but not other patches.
Kids have patches other names and the American flag on their backpacks.
Yeah, that was flown during the revolution with. I just don't wonder.
The balls on this kid. The look.
So
I'm just gonna pause it real quick. The look he shot the teacher after he said
smirking. Yeah, I love it.
Stone cold. I love it. Yeah.
This kid and Kyle Rittenhouse should get a podcast together.
And if you go on to the ACLU's website, yeah, let's talk to
I
someone,
can,
because
I
I
can
don't want
have
a
you
lawsuit,
speak
I really
to,
don't.
I can have you speak to Jeff Yoakum
Okay.
again.
Okay.
And then he can refer you to our person at the district.
Okay.
Because like I said, we're following district policy is what we're doing. So the last thing I want is him out of class.
Yeah, I know, me
that's all
too.
I-
He
the last
takes
thing I
his
want.
classes seriously,
Yes.
he studies, he wants to get straight A's, he did that. He made honor roll when he was here before.
Yep.
He intends to do that again right now, but it's hard because he keeps missing class for this. So,
I understand that.
yeah, and I mean, we teach him to always stick up for your beliefs, and I mean, you're going over the revolution for 7th grade. I mean, the founding fathers stood up for what they believed in against unjust laws. This is unjust.
Okay, like I said, we're upholding a policy that was provided to us, which we have to uphold.
Okay, can you show me where the policy?
All right. Boy, what a time to be alive. What a world to live in.
Yeah,
Get your kid out of public
sad,
schools,
it's
folks.
pathetic. Yeah, homeschool people. Easy
yeah, so-
said from the person who doesn't have children, but go ahead.
This is a layup for me and you. Like, what point do we want to start with here of the many easy points to make? Should I go into detail about what the Gadsden flag is? Should we make the whataboutism with the the LGBTQ plus flag? The fact that I was taking notes. She said it has to do with slavery and the slave trade. I mean, my God, critical race theory. There's so many avenues we could take this thing. This is like a convergence of a whole bunch of things. Go ahead.
Mom said they're in 7th grade. They're learning about the Revolutionary War right now. So here's your prime example of why critical race theory is full of shit. Because if you're learning about the Revolutionary War, you would understand that flag has nothing to do with slavery, has nothing to do with what you're talking about. You're just in a woke district, and the Department of Education needs to be broken into 1,000 pieces and scattered into the wind.
Fair enough.
It's just another alphabet soup agency.
This reminded me of a long time ago when we had on Casey Baker, our #1 fan.
Good
Shout
old
out to
Casey. Hope he's
and
still out there listening. Find the good fight.
I think he is. And there was that one Olympian, I forget her name, and Biles maybe, I don't remember. Anyway, she was talking about like the Star Spangled Banner and how it was talking about like pillaging and raping people or something like that. And we had to we literally read.
Oh yeah, we
the
broke
lyrics
down this. Yeah,
and like what because again, like before we were talking about how translation from Ukrainian and Russian to English, doesn't always work out. Well, the same thing is from English back in the day to English now. Things don't mean exactly what you.
Or English into progressivism.
Sure, that too. So let's start with the history lesson. Let's start with that. Like, what is the Gadsden flag for people who don't know? The Gadsden flag, also called the Hopkins flag or Don't Tread on Me flag, historically called by historical flag used by Commodore Essex Hopkins, the United States First Naval Commander-in-Chief, as his personal ensign during the American Revolution. The flag features a coiled rattlesnake above the words, "Don't tread on me," a yellow background. The flag was one of several contemporary flags that included the image of a rattlesnake, which had become a popular symbol of unity amongst the American colonies. The rattlesnake symbol originated in 1754 by a political cartoon called Join or Die. Everybody's familiar with this, I'm sure. Published in Benjamin Franklin's Pennsylvania Gazette. The cartoon, which depicted the colonies divided as segments of a cut-up snake, exhorted the colonists to unite in the face of the French and Indian War. The symbol was later used to represent unity during the Revolutionary War. One observer, writing in the Pennsylvania Journal in December 1775, claimed that a drum of the newly created Marine Corps displayed a rattlesnake along the motto, "Don't tread on me." That same month, Essex Hopkins was appointed Commodore of the Continental Congress's naval forces, and his ship, the USS Alfred, like your dog, hoisted a flag that combined the rattlesnake and the "Don't Tread on Me" motto. The elegant standard was presented in February 1776 to the Provincial Congress of South Carolina by Christopher Gadsden, a delegate to the Continental Congress, who was that same month placed in command of South Carolina's military forces. The president of the Provincial Congress of South Carolina subsequently ordered the flag to be displayed in its hall. The design received little mention, however, after the United States achieved independence and adopted the Stars and Stripes as the official national flag in 1779. So, like, this thing was in consideration to be the flag of the country. They just chose the Stars and Stripes instead at the time.
So wait, just
Sure.
get to the point. Where's the stuff about slavery?
You want me to keep reading because there's only another paragraph here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, is that the paragraph about slavery?
No.
It must be,
No,
right?
there is no paragraph.
It has to be.
about slavery.
It has to be.
I won't read this last part.
Why would this Department of Education official bureaucrat be wrong? Why would she be wrong?
So
Where's
the
slavery
last
stuff?
paragraph, this is from Britannica. The last paragraph does go on to cite how recently it's resurfaced in popular culture. It took on libertarian undertones, which essentially it's like the libertarian flag nowadays. And then this again tries to tie it to like the Tea Party movement in 2009. It says a flag increasingly associated with the movement's right-wing populism. And the Tea Party rallies taking place during the presidency of Barack Obama, the first black president of the United States. Rhetoric at some rallies occasionally took on racial undertones. By association, the Gadsden flag was thereby tainted with racism in the eyes of some observers. In 2014, an African-American mechanic for the U.S. Postal Service filed a complaint with the EEOC over a coworker wearing the hat with the flag's design. The EEOC determined that in 2016, the design, although not a racist symbol, is sometimes interpreted to convey racially tinged messages in some contexts, and that the complaint against its use met the standard for investigation according to Title whatever of the Civil Rights Act. So, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, essentially, is what they said. Like, yeah, of course, any person could take anything, and you could be a racist person, and you could hold the Gadsden flag. And then some other person could see you and be like, hey, you're a racist. Well, what's lacking here is that it has nothing to do with slavery. It never did. It doesn't now. It actually, what's ironic about this entire fucking thing is that the whole vibe, the whole motto, the whole everything, the reason why I fly that flag at my house is because it's the complete opposite of slavery. Don't tread on me. What is the epitome of slavery? Treading on people, and they're not even, you don't even treat them as people. You've treaded all over them. The flag embodies the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. It embodies rebellion. It embodies, it's the exact opposite representation of what the establishment wants. The establishment flies the LGBTQ flag, and it's all inclusive. Even when we go to fight in Ukraine, we're going to put blue and yellow in the LGBT community flag because we need to include Ukraine in it. It's all inclusive. One world, one government, one currency, all that stuff. The World Economic Forum bullshit. Don't tread on me means don't force me to do what I don't want to do. And the establishment cannot have that. That's why that flag's a problem.
Sure.
There's nothing racist about it. It was dawned by the Marines. So the Marines are a racist group of individuals.
Yeah, by this lady's logic, like the Stars and Stripes is also a racist flag because it was around.
People will.
I'm just saying, like by her own logic, like this flag isn't any more special or not. Like there actually was an American flag hanging in the background of her very own office right there.
Yeah.
It's just this lady. Like critical race theory, which is obviously fake history, has infected the public school system. It's infected people's minds, right? And like you're saying, like this flag is a symbol of liberty. It pisses me off, right? Because it's like one of the few really good like symbols libertarians have right now.
Fuck you symbol.
Yeah, and it's just a symbol of being against the government. That has nothing to do with slavery. Throughout all of history, that's all it's ever fucking represented is leave me alone, don't tread on me, anti-government rhetoric. I stumbled across real quick an old, of course, Washington Post article, right? And they're talking about the Gadsden flag. I think it was back in 2014, and they were trying to tie it to the Confederacy and everything. And I'm like, that kind of fucking makes sense though, because they were against the government, right? So it's just a symbol of being against the government. Anyone could wield it, right? But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with actually slavery. That's all it is. It's against being against like the center of power. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
And, the funny thing, you sit there and you watch her, explain herself, and she just passes the buck to the district.
Yeah.
It's amazing that all these people who adhere to this progressive ideology of equity and bullshit and inclusiveness, they don't ever have an answer. Just like you look at the press secretary, she never has an answer. She refers to her notes. She refers to some unnamed expert who's not even close to being an expert. This woman's just she's not taking any charge. She's not taking, I'm not making him do it. This is just what the district said. Okay, maybe we'll go check out what the district website. She's just passing the buck. It just makes me feel like even at her heart of hearts, she knows it's bullshit, but she's adhered to this ideology.
Yeah, she's indoctrinated.
You just got to toe the line now.
It's the way totalitarian regimes work, folks. It's like this, there's a diffusion of responsibility. Like, well, we say they all the time, but so do they. Like, so do these kinds of people. Like, you'll have to take it up with them. They, them.
I just agree with them. They're the ones making the rules.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's passing the buck to the infamous they at the end of the day. So I just thought that was funny. That was a bit ridiculous. And that kid, I got to hand it to him.
A registered
smart
Republican.
Yeah, hopefully libertarian. Smart kid, obviously. Hopefully that kid will be the fucking president in 40 or 30 years from now, whatever it's going to be.
Makes me want to put on the Legion hoodie because I got a good Gadsden flag right there on the arm.
Yeah, you fucking terrorist slave promoter.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, let's go to our tweets of the week, and we'll wrap this dang up. They are going to be applicable.
I really couldn't find anything. I didn't even see any Trump in history stuff. There was some just low hanging fruit. I did not find anything of interest.
Right, well, I got 4, so that'll make up for it. Yeah. The right to bear memes when you wear a Gadsden flag patch in the Lib School District, and it's the kid, and he's got the he's now been
tricone hat on.
Yeah, he's now got a the Trump mugshot. Yeah, I thought that was fucking pretty funny. There was a lot of good memes around this one.
Yes.
All right, let's go over to Captain. Captain got a Cernovich tweet. I like Cernovich. He's pretty good journalist.
Yes. Maui police chief, some fire victims may never be found. This is a big thing. I thought we were having our conspiracy episode, so I thought this was going to come up.
Yeah.
Yes. Thousands of people are missing, and the story is just we just might never find them. We're never going to figure out who put cocaine in the White House, and we're never going to find out what happened to these thousands of people that went missing. It's Maui is. I know you're fighting, the woke policies, and it was a fire, no direct energy weapons, but there's a lot of suspicion around this. This should be a huge nationwide story, and it's not, because the conspiracy theorists are calling it out, and it's giving them a bad look, and the narrative is getting destroyed. There's something fishy here.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going full conspiracy, but there's something fishy here. And this is it. They're just, these victims might never be found. Case closed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. It's, my point. We'll save this for the conspiracy episode, but my point is that there is a conspiracy theory here. Sorry, Garrett. It's not magic. It's not lasers from space. It's that poor policies led to thousands of people getting killed. They're trying to cover that up because it looks fucking awful. The response has been pathetic. And if everyone figures this out, you could have a full-blown revolution on that island of Maui where they go, get the guillotines out or something like that. I don't know. I've heard that's kind of the culture out there to begin with anyway.
Good.
So, again, and if you're... And my point about that with the conspiracy theories is, if you keep making these points about lasers from space, they then turn around and use that to dismiss all the legit criticism. I'm not saying, show me the evidence that there's lasers from space, and I will be on your side, and we'll make points about lasers from space. But there isn't.
That's fine, but
we don't need that.
Even if I make the point that this was a direct energy weapon, a laser from space, it does not give them the right to turn around and go, we're just never going to find anybody. We're never going to
you're giving them a bullet to use against you. That's the way I see it. To dismiss
it.
But
still, the job's not being done.
They're trying to run out the clock. While they try to run out the clock into public attention. It's a very carefully crafted, tactic that they're using here, in my opinion, around Maui. So we'll go down a rabbit hole with the boys on that one.
False flag.
All right. Let's go over. Got 3 more, and then we'll wrap things up here.
David Hogg,
Oh, yeah.
huh?
No, there was another
How's
shooting.
that
so
Hogg
There
doing?
was another shooting, so of course David Hogg, he rises to prominence again. He loves when shootings happen. David Hogg goes, racism is not a mental illness. Stop using mental illness to avoid talking about armed white supremacy. Look, man, I don't know. We've made this point
When
before.
was the last white guy to do a shooting?
Look, there was a shooting in, I forget exactly where, in Florida over the weekend. Some guy targeted 3 black people in a supermarket again, similar to the one that happened in Buffalo. But like, look, man, I don't know. People like this, racism is not a mental illness. I'm sorry. I don't even want to get into, we've said before, like, I don't want to start like taking score on mass shootings of like, this one's on our side, that one's not on our side, whatever. I think that's ridiculous. But again, I've made this point before. If you get to the point where you're so racist that you are going to grab an AR-15 and go shoot a whole bunch of people at random without any empathy or whatsoever, that is mental illness to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like if you're saying that there's not something mentally wrong with someone who's willing to do that, I don't know exactly what point here you're trying to make. Are you a racist, David Hogg? Like, are you saying it's not mentally insane to want to like mass murder black people for no reason? I happen to think it is, to be honest with you. That's just my take. So
it's just, somebody towing the line and using the terms, racism, white supremacy, shooting,
words,
clickbait.
Yeah. And it's just also something about these people who like anytime these things happen, like, bam, they're back. And like
they're hired specifically
they gain energy
for
like
it.
every time this thing happens. They gain notoriety. Like this guy's built his whole career on mass
Think
shootings.
of it. David Hogg is around for all the shootings. Greta Thunberg, whatever how you say her fucking last name, is around for any climate crisis. There are Democrat celebrity social media like influencers that are literally hired in different departments of how can we push our agenda.
Like they're all kind of similar. They're young. They make a living off of like outrage around things people do. And those things people do, the answers that these young people have to them always like turns back to, we need to give the government more authority over everyone's lives. It is interesting, isn't it? Right? Like
Dylan Mulvaney for the trans community.
Doesn't matter.
You could literally
swap
take
out what the thing is.
Yeah. You could take any liberal agenda that the news might talk about, and you have a social media influencer assigned to that department.
Yeah, the Sisson kids, right? Like they're just Biden's biggest fucking Harry J. Sisson and the other kid, like they're Biden's biggest fucking promoters. Yeah, like just again, take any topic that ends with like, well, the answer here is give the government more power. Yeah, and like then there's like that young kid who's the face of it on social media. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, let's go next tweet. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So this one is a quote tweet of TMZ, and the TMZ says the Price is Right host Bob Barker dead at 99. So B.W. Carlin says, my man got as close as possible without going over $1. Legend. Rest in peace to Bob Barker.
Fucking legend.
Made it to 99 years old. He never went over $1. This is a great tweet, dude. This might go up. Yes. This is an all-time great tweet, I think.
There was a couple of good memes of Adam Sandler going, this is how I win, because Bob Barker kicked his ass in Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Yep. This is how I win. All right, one more, and we're out of here. This is from Michael Schellenberger, who I've said is on fire lately, literally in this tweet. He says, the media said climate change, not arson, was behind the fires in Greece. They lied. They have egg on their face now that 160 people have been arrested for arson. And he side-by-sides a CNN article about why wildfires happen, debunking the myth that arson is to blame more than climate change. And then a couple days later, Greek police arrest dozens for arson as the EU's largest ever wildfires rage. So, I don't know, like, this whole thing is...
That's a funny... I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's a funny way to say. Greek police arrest dozens for arson as EU's largest ever wildfire range. It's not a wildfire. A wildfire, correct, is a fire gets started.
That's wild, right? Like
it goes out of control. So it naturally happens. So let's, we'll take direct energy weapons out of this and arson. Yeah. A wildfire, in theory, is lightning strikes a dead tree in the middle of a Montana forest. It goes on fire. It gets crazy. It burns down 700 acres. That's a wildfire that's raging. Arson is something different.
Yeah, right. It should just be called arson. Like Greece's largest ever case of arson. Yeah, that's a good point, right? But they still try to like protect their narrative a little bit, at least in the language there, perhaps. Yeah, and again, this goes back to like, they'll just, like the corporate press, they just exist to like capitalize on anything. Like any random thing that happens, they're going to just spin their agenda at the very onset. Doesn't matter. They're not there to like actually do any journalism or investigative journalism like Michael Schellenberger does, right? And a lot of these other good people that we've tried to quote, they're just there to like prop up the narrative or the regime, whatever it might be. That's it.
Yep. And as I said to you and Garrett, how long before they change the definition of climate change to include arson? Arson is
change.
A form of climate change.
Yeah, maybe, right? Yeah. I could see that actually. Because of climate change, it's driving people to be so scared of climate change that they're committing arson to try and wake people up about climate change, because that's how much of a threat climate change is. So what do we have to do? We have to vote for more policies that infringe on your individual liberties in order to stop climate change.
Yep. Because if we pay more in taxes, people will stop committing arson. That's how we won the war on drugs.
The earth heals if you pay more taxes. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
All right, sign us out.
All right, Doom Nation. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go check us out on our newest platform, Kick. We hope to make a home out of here where we're testing the waters and seeing what they got to offer. And we'll be back next week. Anything else, Scagz?
That's it. Goodbye.
Adios, Doom Nation.